imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rock about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool, I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It's the real one. I choose to devote my life to. That's okay.
It means something. It means something.
And they got away.
You know, that's my take on it. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. It is a science thing. It's a science place. It's a scientific fact that we're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Episode 431 of this ding-dang show. That's right, people. 431. Back at it. Off tour, churning out podcasts at the Podcast Factory. We have a returning guest very soon, who last time he was on, I checked, episode 57. That was a very long time ago, but that was when his book came out, which we're going to get into. But we also going to get into his brand new band, We Contain Multitudes, which I quite like. It is very, very interesting and definitely one of the records to listen to that are new this year that you might surprise you by coming out of nowhere. And he also was in Bitch Magnet, Vineland, briefly Don Caballero. He's a great dude and a great writer, and we're going to talk to him very shortly. But before we do that, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I'm your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who's been touring and recording for 25 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. This is episode 431. Now, if it's your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at protonicreversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal will achieve that goal. And if you like the show, even just a single episode, please feel free to like, subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around the internet, or even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords. It's just a darn nice thing to do. So quick housekeeping real quick. If for those that have not heard or care, we are playing with the Jesus Lizard in November, which is fantastic, and I'm very excited about it. We have a whole tour before that, too, that's not announced, but that's November 21st. So if you're in the Milwaukee area, go to that show. I'll be there. And that is a pleasant surprise. The kind of surprise that's like, oh, that's a nice surprise. That's not like one of these other kind of surprises we get all the time. Some more tour dates being announced for Conan Neutron, Secret Friends as well for October and November. Stay tuned for that. But I gotta say, man, this is it's not the longest break since someone's been on, but it's definitely up there. Jon Fine, episode 57. I'm looking at the date right now, June 22nd, 2015, right? So it has been 10 years since I've talked to Mr. Jon Fine of course, a Bitch Magnet, Vineland, and the great book, Your Band Sucks, What I Saw at Indie Rock's Failed Revolution, but Can No Longer Hear, which I'm showing the receipts by having a copy up in my hand right now. That is absolutely insane that has been over 10 years. But We Contain Multitudes is a great band. It's a new band, and it's a band that I'm very eager to talk about with Mr. Jon Fine. Let's bring him on right now. Jon, welcome to the show, man. Welcome back.
Hey, great to be here, man.
I did not realize it was 10 years until I got done with that sentence. I'm like, oh my God, that was 10 years ago.
Yeah, it's time is a flat circle. I don't know what the corny line we're supposed to say about time is, but yes, it's been a while.
And at the terminus of that book, it was basically, am I going to continue with doing rock and roll activities? Yeah, probably not.
Actually, no, it wasn't probably.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah. I'm
done.
being charitable. It was definitely more of a definitive no. I'm not going to be doing that. But again, that was 10 years ago, and time as well as money changes everything. This band rules, man. I got to say, I've listened to the record nonstop, and I'm a hard sell.
Thank you.
And it seems like it had a pretty long gestation period. But
It did.
tell me how it all came together.
It came together when I was doing some book appearances, and I set one up in London, and the gentleman who put it together said, "Look, you're at the Windmill in Brixton. Stuart Lee, the noted British comedian, is going to be interviewing you. It's going to be great, but more people will be there if you play guitar."
Right.
And I was like,
Sure.
"Fuck, gosh, all right." So, the dude's like, "Look, it's fine. Just like do an improv thing." I'm like, "Well, I improv." But I got in touch with these two guys who were the rhythm section of a band called Small Gang that had opened for Bitch Magnet in like a few years prior. So that was Simon Kobayashi on bass and Matt Atkins on drums. And like we threw together a couple songs. We did an old Vineland song. We did a Small Gang song, and we did some sort of vague, loose jams around some themes. And I really enjoyed it, and I really liked playing with Simon. And it just kind of it put the monkey back on my back. I don't know how else to put it. Weeks after that, for work, I was at this weird kind of tech conference in Utah, and I stepped out of the conference just out of nowhere, and I called up Orestes, and I said, "Look, I know I've talked about this with you before, but like I really want to do this. Like let's play." And by the way, I found this bassist in London that I think we should play with, and let's come together in New York. Like we'll figure out the arrangements. And so we got together a few months later. The first day was not any good at all. We had a very nice dinner, and I'm thinking like, okay, well, maybe this didn't work out.
Yeah.
And then the second day it got really great. And, that's kind of been it from there. Gestation has been slow. We kind of were in a hibernation mode during COVID. Hard to travel and be in the same room together. Mm-hmm. Also, I kind of lost the desire to play guitar during COVID, which far worse things have happened during COVID. But yeah, I just couldn't do it. But that kicked back on, and we did a bunch of work in 2023, and we recorded in October that year.
Yeah, and so and by the way, that guy's a badass. Like those are not just some like dude bass lines.
No,
like, these bass lines are. Like, I was like, oh, this is like changing. Like it's counter melody. There's all kinds of stuff.
Well, he's
right?
basically a much better guitarist than I am. So it kind of works that he plays bass too very well.
Yeah. Right, exactly. The sensibilities they're not going to be clashing necessarily. Well, and it's something where, and of course, you're playing with a drummer that you guys know each other like telepathically, like how each other plays, right? You get that kind of just muscle memory of, all right, he's gonna do this now. Oh, that's different. But I knew it was gonna do something.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that, but because there's a great comfort. There was always a great comfort in my bands and looking back and seeing Orestes back there. Like as long as he was there, like it wouldn't get that bad. But the dude just continually surprises me. But like his taste, his power, his finesse, and like the broadness of his scope. I mean, he's got a really deep understanding of percussion and I'm too dumb to know if you can say classical per se in this realm, but his dad was a Latin percussionist. He kind of comes out of that. And I was driving around Tucson, Arizona with him where he lives once, and we're listening to a Mexican radio station, and he's like breaking down like the style of each song that's coming on each Mexican song that's coming on the radio, and like explaining what the drums are doing in like very technical. Right. And I'm just like, Jesus, dude, like cool. Like I kind of know where the notes are on the fretboard.
Right. If asked and put on the spot, I'd be able to figure it out. Yeah. But that's something where he's coming at it from a different place, like academically, musically, and you can always note whenever drumming is coming from a place that is like there's a musicality to it, like and there's something that is different, right?
Yeah, I think that's very astute, and it's also just very natural to him. It's like breathing. Yeah. It's just. But he also has like a technical facility and like a deep knowledge of it. It's spectacular. I fucking love playing with that guy.
Yeah, I mean, just a great drummer in general, which is, that's a good place to start if you're playing, rock music or whatever we call, this
thing
this
that we do.
cul-de-sac of this thing. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and it's so the thing that kind of struck me most about the record is that it was familiar, and there's certainly a sensibility that, like, if you're someone that mainlines King Crimson Records or something, there's a lot to love there, right? But this is coming from like a punk rock place, again, punk rock in that larger sense of the term, not necessarily 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and the sensibility is like it's got that lean, mean thing that I don't hear in a lot of bigger, newer bands. I only hear with bands that are like working bands that are lesser known, and that's interesting to me that there's now this gulf amongst quote unquote indie music now, where it's like, okay, what happened to the rock in the indie rock? Like, did that just go away? We just don't do that anymore. And of course, there's exceptions, like a Tropical Folk Storm, so on and so on. There's certainly exceptions to prove that rule, but there's a sensibility that, like, oh yeah, I know if you've like Fugazi and Don Caballero, there's a lot for you to love here, even though it doesn't sound exactly like those things. And I'm also kind of blown away, and I've talked about this in the show a lot, when bands are just like, oh, you guys like Unwound too, huh? All right, well, my band doesn't sound like them, though. Your band sounds exactly like Unwound. Like, exactly. And I would personally feel kind of weird about that, but okay, I guess, like, that's maybe a generational thing. I don't know. And it does sound unique, and that is painfully difficult to do, especially when you're dealing with distance and you're dealing with not, I would just gonna make the assumption you're not playing in a room 4 days out of the week.
Correct.
Damn,
you're good. Where'd you come up with that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm quite the detective. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, we got these dimensional portals. He's got a TARDIS, and it works out great.
I wish.
So you have to lean on the shorthand of just being people that have been musicians for years, that, like, what you want, I would imagine, and how to play to your best sensibilities, but things still have to happen quickly. You have to make decisions. You have to, and you're dealing with it's like band concentrate, just add water to a certain degree, right? I mean,
well, I mean, yeah, or another way of looking at it is that either there's chemistry between the players or there isn't. And like,
sure,
I'm sure you and I have played once or twice with someone who's really great, but like there just isn't that vibe there.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, everything you're doing is academically wonderful,
and like you're great, and like I love your bass playing or guitar playing or drum, but it's just not working with this, and that's fine. I don't know. It just happened to work. I don't know how to explain it. What you say about time and distance is interesting in that, we have time to really like sort of think about stuff, which is a blessing and a curse, but it's generally turned to work out pretty well. And this was the first, because of, dude, it's been, the last album I recorded was in like 2005. So this is the first. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I don't even.
George W. Bush was president. It's like
exactly. Yeah, he just started his second term.
He was just a young
and
GW.
Like it was, and I think we recorded to tape. And this was the first time, dealing with this shit that we all know is true. It's like studio is miniaturized and can be in a lot of places, and right. Like there are pros and cons of digitizing. I happen to really miss recording to tape, but like, you get to do, there are so many freaking guitar tracks on this record. Like it's just like, I just went kind of crazy.
It's very layered. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I had time to think about it. And like the way, we worked it out with our producer, Abe Seiferth, who's got this small place. Like there was just time to do it, so it wasn't just one of those things that, I have to stop saying this, but to harken back to like my early days where it's like, all right, dudes, like we have enough money for, 4 days in the studio. Like that's it. Like everything has to be done.
Yeah. And basics, we got to mix. We got
and like, and you don't sleep and it's kind of awesome, but like, what happens. And with this, there's able to be a little more thought and for the first time songs changing in the studio.
Somewhat. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another way of developing too, right? Because that's the developing in the studio. That isn't the punk rock way of like, hey, let's go and play like 400 shows and then come back after we hate these songs to the utter core of our existence and record them. It's, I mean, from the other perspective of things, the song can come first and you have sort of unlimited ability to make that whatever it is. And then you get to kind of, reverse engineer it later when it's time to like play it. And
we need at least one other human to play these songs live. Like there's no other way. Like
there's so many layers, of course.
It's like I was like starting to like kind of break this stuff down. I'm like, geez, like we'll have to figure this out. But that's a problem for another time.
Well, and that's don't get me wrong. I was when I saw Ian on that Don Cab tour where he had the two Akai head brushes. I'm like, what are those things, and how can I get one? That was my first thought.
I think I still have one in one of these cabinets, but it hasn't worked in a very long time.
I was gonna say I had one that was a glorified doorstop for like literal years, but I spent about 10 years with that guy, and
it's great. Yeah,
the technology has come along a lot since then, but that what blew my mind when I saw it.
Very, very important gateway drug.
And especially because I was like, oh, who's going to be playing second guitar? Oh, it's just Ian doing all of it. Okay, well, that's an insane decision, but okay.
It kind of works. Yeah,
it's totally working.
Well, I mean, it's funny you mention that because the conception I had for this band was that there'd be a lot of loops,
right?
And there are definitely some loops. Like the title track Minako is based around a loop. But that's pretty much it. And like when I started playing with those guys, I was like, we could do that, but it works a lot better if we just sort of like open it up a little bit. And like, you discover things, you learn about the band as you do the band. In this case, I'm happy to be proven wrong because, it just opened up different possibilities.
Because you got to find out what it is when it's happening. And it is very intricate, but it's also heavy, right? And so there's elements of it that border psychedelia, but not in the ways that people usually mean when they say that term.
I'm totally happy. I'm totally happy that at this stage, it's like, I'm in a heavy psych band. I am totally okay with that. Like I'm totally into it. It's like from like all those like crazy forced exposure catalogs where they're like heavy psych reissue 100 copies, and then you get it and it's like it's folk guitars and flutes as opposed to like here, but. But I like that stuff too.
So many flutes.
It's
like, all right, was it like a flute dispensation or something at the time? I don't know.
It's Britain. It's a British thing. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's vibey, right? It's vibey music without sounding necessarily jammy. And when I say jam, I usually mean that as an insult. So
I get you. Yeah.
Like it sounds, it's composed and there's purpose to it, and it comes at it with that. Like there's intent. There's intent behind everything that's happening, and that comes through. And that's something that, whether Bitch Magnet was the biggest band in the world or not, like there's a certain amount of expectations. Like, it's two of the guys from Bitch Magnet. They're doing this band, right? There's going to be a certain amount of, what's that? Okay, well, I'll check it out. And then, if you hear psychedelic flute, maybe you're gonna peace out. I don't know.
There is no flute on this record, but there are keyboards on this record, and there's acoustic guitar on this record. So but it's cool. It's playing with a much wider palette, and I love those Bitch Magnet records, man. I mean, I'm still proud of them. Like I don't want to replicate that with this. I just don't.
Absolutely, and. There's a lot of things here where it's like, okay, there's stuff that reminds me of working the same idioms that the fucking Champs were doing, right? Like especially the later Black Flag stuff, like that.
Thank you. Wow, Jesus, thanks, man. Yeah.
And again, not necessarily in the way that I usually mean when I say that, and that's probably the most astounding thing to me is that it does come through the lens of all your experiences and what you're trying to do as something pretty unique, and that is, it's the year 2025, man. That's hard to do.
Thank you.
Now, granted, unique doesn't exactly get you fame and fortune.
Well, that was. That was never the intent of anything you and I did, really. So
right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
We're playing weird music for weird people, which is, by the way, those are the people I want to hang with. So that's totally fucking all right.
Yep. Buy at and to weird people.
Totally.
And that's something that's. So going back to, I guess, 10 years ago, that bums me out. The end of the band, basically saying like, hey, I'm hanging up the Spurs, right? And at the end of doing those reunion tours for Bitch Magnet, and you've been kind of kicking around the idea of doing the band then, or doing a band, doing something then, and then we have this whole I mean, God, I mean, it's still it's amazing that 5 years ago was like, COVID, which like, it's like, what? That was like 5 weeks ago. No,
but it was 5 years ago. Yeah. I mean, like if you think, it's we've all lost our sense of time. There maybe it's the edibles. I don't know, but I think edibles.
But you said something very key, which is the fact you like really weren't playing guitar. Like it wasn't something that was in your life.
Couldn't do it. Don't know why.
So when did that change?
Somewhere, oh God, I'd have to pinpoint it. We were supposed to get together and play in late 2022, but Simon got COVID, and he still offered to come, and I'm like, dude, like you're not going to sit on a plane for 7 hours from London to be in a practice space with us sweaty hogs, for like 8 hours at late. You'll be in the fucking hospital. Like we're not doing this.
You're not going to come back from this.
But by I mean, like again, like I don't have any sort of record of this, and like honestly, like the less I remember about COVID itself, the better. But yeah, at a certain point, it turned back on. Like that's probably 2022. Like and I started playing enough again, and like. Some songwriting instinct started kicking in again. I just started having stuff, and so finally, and like those guys were very patient with me because like I just couldn't do anything.
And
I didn't know how to explain it.
Were you like jotting these down? Were you like recording these things, or was it just like, okay, if I remember, I know it's good?
I don't trust myself to remember, and so I have a ton of voice memos that I work off at it. It's like super primitive.
New idea 75.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, like, and then you go back and like, if the process, like record a bunch of like short voice memos, and then you take a dedicated chunk of time and listen to like several weeks of it. And if it's good, you give it some kind of title and some sort of guide thing, like weird thing in C, or like, Townsend-esque chording, in C sharp. And if it's not good, you don't mark it, and then then things start kind of coalescing. I mean, like it's always strange to talk about this process, and I'm not putting myself on this level, but someone once asked, I'm definitely not putting myself on this level. Someone once asked Leonard Cohen, where do your songs come from, and he said, well, if I knew, I would go there much more often. I mean, it's like it either
right,
happens
right,
or it doesn't. And like for whatever reason, like the last couple of years have been pretty good. And I just left a very demanding job this spring, and I kind of woke up. My wife and I took a little bit of time away, and I kind of woke up my first weekday back in New York, and I was like, God, what do I do now? And I was like, what do I do now? How about I play guitar 2-3 hours a day, see what comes out?
Yeah.
So like I'm like, while I have this time, I'm kind of trying to get as much done for the next We Contain Multitudes record as possible. And you can't see it, but like I have a whiteboard over there with like a bunch of like just vague things so I can keep track in my head.
Ideas. Yeah.
It's like it's somewhere between 5 and 7 songs between how they like come together or not. And some will get thrown out. Some will, once I play with those guys, some will get a lot better, and and they'll bring
and some will change. Some will just be different.
It will all change. It will all change, and that's the beauty of this.
Yeah, and that's something that and again, there's something to be said for my personal process. I've learned just like, good ideas will still be a good idea like years down the line. So it's like if you just jot it down, in some way that you can your later self can reconcile and understand, then like that's something that you could pick up later. And even if something that doesn't work then can be this immediately come to you later. And that's one of the wonderful things about technology, that we have the ability to do those things instead of just doom scrolling 24/7, 365.
No, exactly. Which we do anyway, but to your point there. So I was in a band in the aughts in New York City called Coptic Light with Jeff Winterberg, who was in Antioch Arrow, and Kevin Shea, who plays with everybody. Yeah. And there was like one riff, like one loop that I was really obsessed with, and like we just couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
And it ended up becoming a We Contain Multitudes song. Like it's not on this record.
I love that.
It's something from a prior recording session that I think we'll do something with one day. But it was like, like there it is,
And that's great because a lot of times, especially if a band has a defined identity, you'll just know where it's like, there's like, that's different in a good way. Oh, that's different in a bad way. That's not really, that doesn't, It's like when somebody puts on like a really garish hat and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a third or fourth album problem where it's like, but what are we and how far can we push this? And
right, exactly.
It was so lovely to do this record where, nobody knew we existed.
And, right.
It was just like us. And it was just like, does this sound good? Like,
Yeah.
I think this sounds good. Let's play it for a half an hour and see what happens, which is basically how it all happens.
Well, it all sounds very well, and that's another thing too. A lot of times, bands that start off as quote unquote studio projects or whatever, you don't have that in the room energy, and that's overused by hacks and charlatans all the time. But it is something that is very real. That when you have especially for quote unquote rock music, a band playing in a room together has a certain vibe. And there is something that's kind of undeniable and exciting about that, especially if it's recorded well. But that's difficult to do when everyone's spread out all over the damn place, So it's if you're getting that time in like these concentrated bursts, then you got to make it count.
Yeah, but also like the concentration. I mean, like, look, I would love it if we were all in the same city and we could get together, once or twice a week. But also, I think we've all been in bands like that where you kind of half-ass it. Like, it's like, it's a Tuesday night, whatever. Whereas this, it's like, we get together for a couple of like long weekends, 4 or 5 days a year. And it's like, we get to the place and it's like, all right, we're all here. We're going to get dinner tomorrow. We're going into the practice space for 8 hours. And, the next day we're doing that. Next day we're doing that. And at the end of that, you've made progress. I mean, if a band works, and, I'm lucky to be playing with two really skilled guys who know how to do this. Who are quick studies. Whereas I have to, they were done with their basic tracks really quick. And I was like the guitarist, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna have to fix that. Yeah, this, I don't know what I'm doing, but don't worry, guys.
I'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that's.
I don't like being that guy, but what can I tell you?
Yeah, well, it's.
Yeah,
so that's just the way it is. It's different. It's different things for different folks. And I think that, you hit on something too, that there's stakes, right? There's stakes when it's like, oh, like you're not gonna be like, oh, we'll get it next week or something. If there's not gonna be a next week, like there's somebody who's like, no, we got to be real present. We got to be right here. There's not gonna be a lot of time for dithering. There's no time for being Macbeth about arrangement decisions, right? I mean, you got to figure it out. You got to like. It's better to make a bad decision than no decision for those kinds of situations.
Basically, yeah, and it's still excuse me, for the record, like some of the songs we've been they were stuff we've been kicking around since 2019. But a very substantial chunk of the record was written in 2023. In a couple of long weekends and me sending some riffs to those guys and them futzing around with them basically. And man, if it works, it works. There are inherent limitations to this kind of band, which, we embrace because we just really like doing this specific thing with each other. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we do it.
So when was there a moment where you sort of crossed the Rubicon of oh, this seems to be a thing, this is something?
I mean, honestly, at the end of the first practice weekend in 2017, I was like, that's great. I've got some work bullshit. I got some travel coming up. Can we try to do this in 6 months? And they were like, yeah. And we were in a pretty good rhythm of that until COVID completely fucked it. And we've been getting back on the horse. I mean, last year was a little unusual. Simon and his wife had their first kid. So,
oh, wow. Okay.
And the first half of the year, I had a really intense job and I was finishing my part of the record. So it was I got to get it done. And then Simon had his kid in June, a lovely daughter named Kiko, who is on the back of the album cover.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
He took a picture of her on the on carpet. I'll hold it up.
Yeah. That's.
He took a picture of her crawling on the floor in her room, and I saw it, and I was like, "That's the composition was kind of great." And I sent it to Adam Fuchs, the brother of Jerry Fuchs, who's a very skilled animator, and I was like, "Can we do something like this for the back cover?" And he was like, "Yeah."
That's awesome.
So 2024 we didn't do a whole lot. I finished my end of the record. We got it. Luckily, Justin Nardi agreed to do it at Expert Work, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And then we just started working on more stuff, which is really accelerated now because I'm in a moment where I have some time to devote to this.
Well, yeah, and then the world gets a chance to kind of catch up and be like, A, this is a thing. B, it sounds like this, and then you're like, cool. And we already got a bunch of other new stuff, and we're going to be percolating on that. But that's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to have the band be ahead of the audience.
We'll see. I mean, the record came out 2 weeks ago, so we'll have to see what all this actually means. But yeah, I mean, people have been very nice about it so far.
Well, and has there been any thought well, you said there was thought to live presentation as far as just having too many guitar parts for one person to do. But I mean, for bringing it out, probably not going to be like 6 months touring or anything along those lines. But bring it out into the world, like other.
Yeah, I mean, we'd love to. We have to figure out the logistics, and hopefully this strikes enough of a chord. Hello, people out there. With
Exactly.
people who put on festivals, people in bands, that have a draw. I mean, that makes it all much more doable. I mean, we can probably figure it out anyway. But I mean, like, I haven't sat down and done the budgeting of like, okay, so if we're going to do it, this is what it looks like. Van rental is this, gear rental. You and I should probably talk offline about that because I feel like you know a little bit about this.
My man.
Yeah, actually, I'm not even kidding, dude. Like, I do want to talk to you about
Yeah, absolutely.
and then like we can figure out what's doable and like what makes sense and like where you can kind of like crush down the costs a little bit and and just kind of centralize stuff.
Well, and that's it's simultaneously easier than it's ever been, and also more difficult as well because there's more variables as well. But there's definitely life hacks to make it work. It's even more subject to almost random action when you have people come in from other places as well. Where it's like, okay, did Trump put a tariff on this country today? Like whatever. Like it's just the nature of the beast, but it's definitely it's easier to pull off, I think, now than ever before. The problem is everyone's doing it.
Yeah,
So
well, of course. Yeah.
So that's because it's easier than it's ever been. I know people that only book tours through Instagram DMs. I'm like, wow, okay.
Oh my God, dude, that makes me want to commit suicide.
I know that
oh
sounds
my
like
God.
actual hell to me.
That'd be
but okay.
such a mess. Good
Right.
Lord. Wow.
It's like the least
Efficient.
UI for that ever.
Oh.
Like finding old
wow.
messages is horrific, but okay,
whatever.
whatever.
Oh God, I'm getting like nauseous just thinking about that.
I know
Like,
it's.
I don't even know. Can you send like attachments through Instagram? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I really don't want to know.
But that's that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That it is more or less a different landscape now. Like going online used to be a thing, and now everyone more or less.
No, I mean we've completely morphed with the machine. I mean, and I think if you're wise about it, you struggle with how much time you're spending on your goddamn phone. But like if you're doing something that involves any kind of social media or communication, like you're going to be looking at it gives you more reasons to look at your phone, which I mean, whatever, this is the business we've chosen,
Yeah. And that if there's something, well, you can go write a manifesto in the woods if you want to, like that, those are the options. Cause that's what we're dealing with. And
yeah, I know we've all bought in. What can I tell you? Dark.
Yeah, it is. And let's pivot off of that immediately.
Yeah.
But it is something where there's the ability to connect to audiences in a way that there never has been before as well. Sure. That's a good thing.
And I mean, without question. And we've seen this coming for a long time. And the downside, as you identify, is that we're just flooded. And attention is just such a, destroyed resource for all of us. I mean, I am now following, the forced exposure account on Instagram. So now I'm like, now I've got a running list of like, I got to check out this record. Record. It's like the books. And then there's just the communicating with people. And like, I don't know, anyone who actually sits down and listens to our record, man, thank you. I mean, like, it's somewhat demanding. The opening song is 16 minutes long. I mean,
I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It reminds me, without saying anything like it, like Didn't We Deserve a Look at You the Way You Really Are by Shellac, like the first song on the second record, which is like 12 minutes long. So you got him beat on that one. But it's just like, and I just remember, I distinctly remember seeing them play that one live. And like there were guys that were just getting angry. Like, what is this? Like, why is this happening? And it was like, wow, this is awesome.
Well, I mean, so long as we're talking about old bands, I mean, like to reference Black Flag, when they were touring on My War, people were still expecting them to be really fast, and they would play side 2. Yeah. Like, which are 3 just painfully slow songs. And I remember reading in Get in the Van or something, Henry was like, yeah, we'd play the 3 songs from side 2 in a row. And then we realized people were getting really angry about that. And I'm like, yeah, you think?
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
I mean, like, I understand you're doing that, but like, I mean, like own it, dude. Like, you're like trying to piss people
You're
off.
surprised by that? Like, come on. And also, side 2 of My War is like one of the secret super influential records. I guess not so much a secret anymore. It was for like years. It was like,
yeah.
Kind of.
It's a demanding listen. It's a very demanding listen. You know, it's a very specific.
Like there was a band I know of that's like, oh, they sound like side 2 of Black Flag's My War, and then they kind of morphed into first album Metallica, but they sounded more like Black Flag before that.
And so then they became commercially successul. Good for them. Like I like when the good guys win.
They actually did too. I was like, I kind of like their weirder stuff, but of course I do.
But, of course we would, but
but I think that's and I don't have to make music comparisons to mediocre music anymore because I decided to stop reviewing music years ago. But when I say that, that's not something I say very often, and I say that to someone that it's like, wow, it's impressive to have that sort of deployed in a different way, and just you don't hear that much. Like and again, it's sort of like it's like when the first time I heard Lung or Tropical Fuckstorm or any of these like bands that are just super unique. Where it's like, oh my god, like what is happening here? I like understand this. I have to like work to understand this. This is crazy, and there's not always a lot of financial reward in that. And of course, that's not why you do it. But it is nice to be able to connect with your people, and it is nice to be able to find your people and find your audience. And was it something where just the enthusiasm of we know this is rad and we're just going to do this just carries you on? Or did you have the kind of like, wow, we're no spring chickens anymore. And, are we going to have to get a TikTok? What are we doing here?
I mean, like it's, I don't know. I mean, like it's almost all of the above in that, like we would be doing this anyway. Okay. Like, I mean, like we're doing this. We're doing it for years before anybody other than like, our wives and closest friends knew about it, having said that, you look behind me. Like, I mean, I like having a physical object. Like, sure, I mean, like, there was always an intent. Like once we realized we were actually a band, it's like, well, we should make a record, and it just happened to take, a while. And but I mean, you do this like, I mean, this is sort of a healthy drug problem, like there's a compulsion here. And I mean, I've tried to walk away from it a bunch of times and I keep coming back. And, like, I mean, I did write a 300-page goddamn book about this, about how like, no, but seriously, like how like this music and this people like saved my life and drove me crazy and broke my heart. And like, but, it is, there are aspects of tribe and family to it. Mm-hmm. And like there are exasperating members of the tribe, there are joyful members of the tribe, there are troubled members of the tribe, but they're the tribe. And like, you feel losses very deeply. I was always having to explain to my wife that like, I'm really upset today because, this really great dude that I knew that I met in 1993, died, And like, I haven't talked to him in 20 years, but like, I feel something there, like
you feel the loss somehow. Yeah.
It's pretty profoundly. I'm talking about Jason Noble in this case. And like, I was trying to explain, what Jason was like. And he just started crying. And like, I hadn't seen Jason in 15, 20 years. Yeah. I don't mean to make this morbid. But it's like,
can I tell you, I have one of his bass cabs over there.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Like I'm off screen, obviously, but
I've got a box full of my sadly departed friend Justin Cherno's effects over there. Do not losing very close friends.
Oh, guys, 0 to 5 down this road. Yeah, we'll be all night.
No, but I'm sorry to bring it back to just music. Is that like like this is a thing that I do. This is a thing that we do, and and whatever. If anyone is remotely interested in it, that's spectacular. We do it anyway. And like the reaction will dictate like to what degree we do it. We'll make another record no matter what. We'll keep doing this, and do we do shows? How many shows? Like we'll see.
Has your
it's also weird not to know the answers to that because like
well, yeah,
in every other band it's been like well the record's coming out so we got a tour and we're like I can get us a show here and like with this it's like like
we'll
we got to figure all that out. Yeah,
and
we have to figure it out on a very basic level because we have to figure out how to play these songs now.
well, yeah, and that's the other element of it is like as a live band, like well we know how to play music, so that's a good step there, and we know how to be a live band, just not this band as a live band, and that's exciting, but it's also there's a certain I'm sure there's a German word for it where it's like friendly
There's
terror.
unquestionably
Right?
a German. Yeah, and I mean, I'm exaggerating slightly. I mean, like, the title song was pretty much played live.
Yeah.
Bathroom Drugs was played live. D9 was played not live. Like Atkins, Atkins is challenging because of the layers. And Can We Just Not, even though we played it through live, like I like just did multiple guitar layers. Like, we'll figure it out, But again,
And
like,
you
and I will talk offline about the budgeting and like the expenses. I am serious about it.
Yeah, man, you know how to get
I
hold of
appreciate
it.
I do.
And the and there's something that's exciting about the process of finding that out, right?
Yeah.
The process of was it the Richard Feynman book, The Pleasure of Finding Things Out?
Yeah, but it's also terrifying because I know that like we will get together with an additional person who we all haven't played with yet, and we've got a week to get it together, and then the show starts. But great. I mean, like there's always, I'm kind of used to that. And like in my past jobs, like I've been like editor at a magazine and stuff. And so like, I've done a fair amount of public speaking, and I used to write out my remarks. And finally I was like, you know what, I just get me out there and I'll start talking. Yeah. And a lot of people think that's terrifying. And like, it's their worst fear to be in a crowd of people, like, in front of people. But like, I don't know, like there's plenty of shit that scares the shit out of me. Like that just doesn't. And like, so that like, we've got to figure this out in a week and then go on the tour. That's terrifying, but like, we'll figure it out.
Figure it out. It's, what I always say is like, I start the sentence. You don't necessarily know the sentence is going to end, but you're going to get somewhere interesting, It's fine.
Most of the time.
you gotta trust yourself. You gotta trust yourself on that.
Gotta do it.
Well, and it also, there's skills that you have now that you've built up that maybe you didn't have then, and there's also the awareness of situations that you're in that you can't necessarily understand that situation. Like look at Vineland, right? Mm-hmm. Like for whatever reason, that band didn't hit the way that maybe it should have. Maybe it was a little too early, a little too late. Who knows, right? But at the time, all you're like, I know this is good. Why is this not doing the thing that we want it to do? That's infuriating.
You can make yourself crazy thinking about it. I mean, you're referring, I think, to I wrote a chapter in my book about Vineland, a band I was in the 90s that, we did 3 singles and we're on a couple of comps. And, there was like the last tour, like I booked a month, which was aggressive for the draw we had. And playing Tuesday night in Cleveland, no diss on Cleveland, in front of 3 people. I mean, it's, and then the next night you're playing another place. Like it's hard. And I don't know. I'd have to really get myself back in the head of like Jon Fine, Vineland era. But like, I just know I had to do it. Like I thought it was good enough. I didn't think it was great. I honestly probably have a different feeling about this band, but that just might have to do with like how long we've lived with the songs, and also just the weirdness of this is unusual to me. Like we made a record and like we're done with it, and I don't want to throw the record off a bridge or myself off a bridge. Like that's unusual. like
it's an important distinction. Yeah, absolutely.
The second Bitch Magnet record, Umber. People really like that record. It's a really good record. I couldn't listen to it for a year and a half. Like I hated it. Yeah. And like one of my best friends at the time was sitting me down. He's like, I don't understand what the problem is, but like I don't know. Like this I think is good, but like to your thing about skills, like I'm definitely a much better guitarist now. I mean, if that matters. And like you just think about things a little differently. You've been exposed to a lot more stuff, and I've heard, probably most importantly, much more really weird music.
Sure, and you're everybody's. If you're a student for life, which most creative people should be, I feel like, then you're always going to be learning. You're always going to be changing. You're going to be doing different stuff. You're going to try different things, and it's interesting when people really engage with something from a different period of your life, from where again, and I'm thinking about when you did the Bitch Magnet reunion shows, and it's like, okay, so we aren't young guys anymore. Like this is coming at it from like a whole life of experience, and being able to appreciate certain elements of it that maybe you just would have glossed over, blown past before, and kind of be present for it. And I thought that was really profound because you don't. And I mentioned this when we talked last time, that you see that a lot of times with like big famous bands, right? Everybody like, oh, there's the book, and here's this chapter about this or whatever. But we don't have the lexicon in our culture. We do for like comedians, for like working comedians, but for like bands that are like, there's a working band that you don't know who they are, but it's not that they're bad because you haven't heard of them. but like you just don't know who they are, and that's okay because they're at this level, and that's where all of these amazing things can happen. And again, for those of us that do it, we feel it very deeply, and it is a huge part of our culture and identity. And sometimes you're not even able to appreciate it until it's gone.
Yeah, I think that may be a more, well, that's a really interesting point. I feel like that may be a more common thing with like really big bands. I mean, or even bands that like I remember reading Bob Mould's memoir.
Oh, sure.
And like, there's not a lot about Husker Du in it. And I was kind of bummed out because I'm a huge Husker Du fan. But then I was also like, okay, well, they were playing 200 shows a year and he was drinking a lot and doing amphetamines. I mean, it must've been a blur. And like, when I was in Bitch Magnet, like, you know, it was kind of a thing. You would like write in your tour diary or, you know, I mean, and I did that but I did that because everything about the experience was so fascinating to me. And like, I just wanted to, and so much happened in a day and every day was so totally different. I just wanted to have something to hang on to. And so I actually remember that stuff really well because number one, it hit me, you know, at a time in life when you form really lasting memories, you know, and you're doing something for the first time, but also because I wrote it down and then I had to revisit it for the book. You know, whereas, so, I mean, all that stuff, I felt it, but I remembered it. But like, you know, I feel, you know, my reading habit is I usually read like a serious book and then a rock memoir and a serious book and a rock memoir. And like, you know, a lot of, you know, they get to a certain point, like it just blurs together. Like I thought Thurston Moore wrote a great book, but like after like 5 or 6 Sonic Youth tours, like he doesn't have a lot to say about the touring experience. It's like, yeah, we went to the Soviet Union. And I'm like, wait, that's fucking crazy. And like
you did what?
Actually, well, but I mean like, and like that I guess he remembers, but like he doesn't remember the fifth time they played, you know, Hamburg or 10th or whatever. And I mean, I guess that's the case. I'm rambling a bit. I don't know if I'm getting at what you're
No, but I think, but you're right that, and experiences are always going to be colored by the context of what's happening then and there, and then in a good way and in a bad way. And again, yeah, you mentioned like Bob Mould thing, right? I'm sure he was just a literal blur for him when he was like spun out trying to, you know, get the insane tour schedule, playing a whole record full of songs. People are like, wow, we thought we might hear a song that we know from you guys, but I guess no.
By the way, we just recorded that record in 72 hours and we didn't sleep. Yeah,
right. Exactly.
There's a story. I'm sure you know this one, but they got asked to do a TV show in London, and it was in the middle of their tour. So if I'm going to get the cities wrong, but literally they were playing Cleveland. They were supposed to play Columbus the next night. They canceled Columbus, got on a plane, flew to London. Then they like flew back and picked up their tour.
And right where it left off. Yeah. Greg Norton.
Insane.
It's insane. It's insane. An insane thing for insane people. Greg Norton, I can't remember if he told that on this show, one of the 2 times he was on, or just told me personally, but it's one of my favorite stories. I'm like, wow, that's how deep in it you guys were. That's crazy.
I was like, you know, maybe we take 2 days off. Call me crazy. You know, like we can go back to Chapel Hill in 6 months. You know, like
right, exactly. It's gonna be okay.
But also like, you know, like that is. I mean, I always honor that time because that's what you did. It was like And one of the stories that I left from my book is so Andrew Bojan's in the band Eggs, and they are trying to park their van, or they park their van and they go to get it and it's blocked. It's in like this lot and it's like blocked. Right. Yeah. And they're freaking out. And then like the promoter goes, okay, wait a minute. Like there's 1 car, there's 14 of us. We're going to pick up that car and move it. And they did it. Right. And now that's an amazing story, but like, that is what you do. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And also,
that's, I mean, with that, I had the back of a 25-year-old guy and, you know, could do that. But I mean,
exactly.
If you've got 15 friends, you can lift up a car and move it.
The Mentos commercial has taught us nothing, if not that. But yeah, and that's one of the things I love about.
Totally put me in my place.
that book, is full of stories like that, which is great because again, when you talk about this alternate method of being, this at sea that is, you know, being in the touring band, which is impossible to describe to people that haven't lived it, because you can try and you're like, I'm saying this aloud and like the words are turning to ash as they leave my mouth. Like none of this makes any sense. It sounds horrific. Like if you like really outline what is happening, like that sounds terrible. I'm like, yeah, but it's not.
No, it's awesome.
It's
like
awesome.
It's awesome. Like the van is disgusting. That's awesome. The clubs are disgusting. Yeah, that's awesome. The food is terrible. It's awesome. I remember like for the book, and I think I quoted him, like Rick Pelletier of Six Finger Satellite was like, it's like, it's so weird coming off tour. It's like, you know, you come home and like, you got to hang out with people who are like really excited about going out to dinner.
Right. Yeah. No, it's and you're like,
wait, I like going out to dinner. I'm a very big fan, but
Look, fan, yeah.
It's not like Showtime, you know. I mean, it's not that crazy feeling.
well, and it's and you get to like get to feel yourself reprioritize things in sort of real time. Where it's like, oh yeah, well I know exactly where I'm gonna take a dump in the morning. It's gonna be in my bathroom. I don't have to worry about that or plan that out.
we did. I mean, this may be less of
Too
a thing
real.
now. This may be less of a thing now, but like after a couple of Bitch Magnet, weekend residents were like, okay,
Yeah.
always have toilet paper, always have soap. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
dude.
Like-
Still to this day.
Okay, see, good to
Just in
know.
case. You never know, man.
Because like you're doing this, yeah.
Because
But,
if you have it, boy.
Oh yeah. It's like we've all been in hairy situations.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's something also that just like your book, I thought Rose's book, Rose Marshak's wonderful book, did that.
Play like a man, yeah.
Yeah, Play Like a Man, which is great. And her and Rick have both been on multiple times, but I was very excited to have her on specifically for the book, and she wanted to do it with Rick. I'm like, no, just come on yourself. Like,
It's your book.
dude, it's your book. Like Rick's amazing. Rick can be on another time.
He'll do his book. Yeah.
But she did such a great job of showing the adventure aspects of it while also maintain the reality. Like the fact that talking about someone's like, the spreadsheet master of figured everything out. It's like they literally made it into like a teachable class.
Oh shit, you're right. Actually, I got to call her. Yeah, she's
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you doing talking to Conan Neutron? Talk to Rose Marshak. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
because poster children probably get actual guarantees, and not much.
Yeah.
Will.
Yeah.
Anyway,
exactly.
dark. Sorry.
But then also the form for that book, like how the asides, like the guest appearance asides and things
Of
along
course,
those
yeah.
lines. And that's all something where, as someone that also I read a lot. I do it for background research when someone's on the show, but also like for fun, we'll read rock biographies. Some are better than others.
Yeah.
And that is the nice way of putting that. And most of them are just, they kind of like do the thing. So anytime you see something that kind of plays with the form or changes up, it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting to have that back and forth. Because again, with context, things will change and maybe elevate something to a different way. Chunklet was actually really good doing this as a zine. Even mostly for comedic effect, but
Exactly.
but it still works. We're like, oh, getting this next to that, this works in such a way that it works in conjunction, and so on, just like a band does. And it's because of that. Your book was one of the first ones. Like, no, this kind of feels like a band.
Oh wow, thank you. Well, I mean that's I was writing it for us. I mean, like I got a major publisher to do it, but I was like, I'm not going to over-explain this. Like, if people haven't heard of Slovenly, that they can look it up. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm
You're not going to hold their hand through.
I'm not going to give you 3 paragraphs on Slovenly. Like it'll just slow the book down and you want to honor the reader and assume that they have some sense or that they know how to find out stuff themselves. But actually, I have a very quick question for you because this has been bothering me. Rock bios. There isn't. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is not a good AC/DC book, is there?
No, which is astounding.
It's
right?
astounding. Yeah, I bought one and I was excited, and it sucks.
No, they're all garbage.
Oh yeah, it's really bad. I'm very upset. Yeah,
And it's like one of my favorite bands of all time.
yeah, and also it's like they're like that's pretty big. Like there's a
Yeah.
bunch of good Led Zeppelin books. Anyway, whatever. Back to your questions. I don't want to.
No, and that's isn't that kind of interesting? Where it's like some bands you get the sort of the academic.
Oh Jesus!
Examinations.
But this is where I start getting like crotchety because there are bands that draw like English major types who are going to dig into it. And like I or people that want to like theorize around the Clash. I'm like, I don't have time for that shit. I'm sorry, I just don't. Whereas like, I mean, like you've got a really well-written like biography, well-researched biography of Led Zeppelin. Like, yeah, I'm in 1,000%. I mean,
absolutely.
like that's a crazy story. Anyway, I'll save the book recommendations for offline because probably more questions.
So right, exactly. So, but there can be interesting things like Lenny Kaye. The fabulous Lenny Kaye of Nuggets fame and Patti Smith Band, et cetera, et cetera. He wrote a book. It's called Lightning Striking, like 10 transformative moments in rock and roll, or something along those lines, right? And I like that the premise of like setting up. Here's the outlines, and like here's what we're going to be looking at. And I was like, God, that's really interesting. Like,
please tell me that they're not obvious. Like Beatles on Ed Sullivan. Like
no.
Dylan
He's
going electric.
Oh no, this is
Good,
this
okay.
is like it's Lenny
Good.
K, man. Like
Yeah, well, I'm glad,
this is
yeah.
nuggets, you know.
All right, good.
Like, there's a couple where it's like
that could be a real cornball book in the wrong hands.
oh, absolutely. I mean, there's stuff that was like, that wouldn't be what I have picked, but that's interesting that you did.
That's why you read it.
Yeah, you know, and you get there is some Beatles stuff, but it's not like
Obvious.
whatever. Yeah, I mean, like whatever. Oh no, who? Yeah, right. But again, the narrative conceit of it being like through the through these transformative moments, right? I was like, oh, that's an interesting way to look at that, and that's something that. And again, I'm not, and again, the academic decathlon stuff miss me with that. I'm really, it's not my speed, man.
No, I get you, but at the same time, like, you know, rock music has been around for 70 years, you know,
Yeah.
and I mean, even earlier, if you want to, like, you know, give proper credit to, you know, like, you know, Muddy Waters and everybody, and like punk rock has been around for 50 something years, and you know, like weird indie rock has been around for 45 years. I mean, like there's kind of a body of work here, and the people who are into it are really into it and are generally like, particularly with our stuff, and they're generally pretty thoughtful, you know.
Well, and it's so interesting to see that there really hasn't been a guidebook for how folks from this culture age. And what, you know, if you revisit something, when are you milking the cash cow? When are you doing something that's honest representation of what the band did? Gang of Four is a great example, right? I mean, post Andy Gill, it's like, well, how can you even have a Gang of Four with Andy Gill? Yeah, it's one of my favorite guitar players of all time.
I'm really glad they got Pajo. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
bands do what they do. And Andy was a friend of mine, so that's just personally a tough one. But I mean, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
But
I gave the Pixies a lot of shit in my book. I'm not a Pixies fan, because like they reunited, and like they it was like 8 years before they wrote a new song, and I'm like, come on, guys, like.
And they also, it's like at a certain point, it's like, who are you, Kiss? What are we doing?
Yeah, I've said. I mean, I don't need to like shit talk, you know, bands on but I mean. So I see your point, but I mean,
like in the same way, like
time, like, you know, there are remarkable examples of aging gracefully.
Absolutely,
Poster children. I mean, Yo La Tango.
Yo La Tango is a great example.
And there are others that I'm blanking on. Right, I would have said Martin Phillips and the Chills until very recently. I was very glad he kind of came back from his troubles and was able to, you know, get some of the love back he deserved. The documentary on him is spectacular.
I know, but I haven't seen it. But
dude, it is. Like absolutely top.
List.
It is. I'm talking like top 5 rock doc. It is unbelievable.
Nice. Okay,
unbelievable
great.
Stuff.
Yeah,
and very fucking dark for very cheerful music. So I mean, you know, you know, Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon. My friend Chris Brokaw. I mean, like, we're not kids anymore, and the fans are not kids anymore, and you know, I mean, okay, like, you know. The structure of this thing persists. It's really something. And I don't know if that's quite true. I don't know if that's true for hair metal. You know, I think it was kind of true for the hippies, but I hate that stuff. I mean, like a lot of stuff just kind of fades away.
Well, I invoked Unwound earlier, but, you know,
Right.
Vern is gone. He not only was a friend of mine, but, you know, a bandmate. And it's something where it was hard for me to, I was so happy when Unwound got back together, like, hey, they're gonna basically have these songs live again for an entire new generation of people that didn't get to even see them ever.
Yeah,
never had the opportunity to.
That's another way of looking at all this, and
that's amazing.
I try
it's
to
beautiful.
be. I mean, I know, and like it'll shock you now that I'm an older guy. Like I try to be a little more ecumenical about it. I missed I willfully missed a lot of reunions the first time they were going around. Like I didn't see the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
I didn't see Gary Newman when he came back. I mean, and in retrospect, some of that was stupid.
I skipped out on the Stooges because I thought the ticket price was too high.
I was not going to miss the Stooges. I was not.
I was an idiot for doing that.
I was not going to miss the Stooges.
I did see Ron when Ron did the tour with Jay Mascis and Mike Watt,
Yeah.
and like they did like a set of 7 Stooges songs, and like my friend was like, "What are these songs?" I'm like, "Shut the fuck up!
Oh,
let me enjoy this."
Yeah, like I'm explanation.
I'll explain later.
The Stooges were really compelling, and I think I saw one of the first shows in New York, and Mike Watt was on stage, and like you could see that he couldn't quite believe what was happening. Like every now and then, he'd just like sort of like shake his head and like in a really weird way. And he was like, "I can't believe this is fucking
I'm playing
happening."
with the Stooges, dude. Yeah, I mean that's so crazy.
Yeah, it's like who would have thought, you know?
But
like,
he nailed it, you know. And it's something
Yeah.
where, and that's another thing where it's like that's great that those guys, you know, they couldn't get arrested. Well, they could get arrested. That's part of the problem.
they got arrested many times, in fact.
But they were not successful as a band at all when they initially were around. So to get them to be able to, like, you know, get some roses, it was like, oh, that's great. And then also like, oh, and it's the songs still rule, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, they're incredibly sturdy songs, and Iggy could still do all the crazy Iggy shit. Thank God.
Exactly.
Thank God he kept his pants on at that show. It was getting really fucking close a couple times. And I was just
it's like right on the cusp.
He was like really on the cusp, man.
Okay, so we're kind of getting down a rabbit hole here, but it's a good one. It's a good rabbit hole. But I think that all of this makes sense because if you're thinking about things from the larger construct of the, you know, whatever you want to call it, whatever the micro niche of whatever atomized culture we have left is that we occupy. There's all these reasons why these things are important, why these things are meaningful, and why these things provide value to us, and you know, there are those that are just happy to be part of the experience and they don't create. They provide value in other ways, and I honor them and I congratulate them. For those of us that do create, it is a weird double-edged sword that when you're not, it's like, wow, how is the thing that I love become a torturer to me? That like I'm sitting here and like watching these things happen, and all I can think about is how badly I want to be doing it as well. And that goes back to like the drug allegory you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And is that like something that
to it, it's compulsion? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, was that something that like in the years, you know, the pre-COVID, where you weren't even like, picking up a guitar, which blows my mind. Norton was the same way though. Greg Norton was like, yeah, there's years I didn't even pick up a bass. I was working the restaurant.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
definitely, yeah. I mean, like I think it's true for. It's probably not true for Simon. I think it's true for Orestes. I mean, like, you know, Orestes had a really heartbreaking experience. You know, this is my interpretation and like
right.
my understanding of it. But like he was in the band Walt Mate.
Walt Mate, yeah. That's who were going to be like a next big thing. For a while.
They got screwed over by like multiple labels, and like at the end of it, he was just like, "Fuck it." Like I think if I have this right, he sold his drums and like he went to grad school. Like like I had to pull back a couple times, and you know, also it's like, you know, life takes on a certain velocity. You know, like you get a real job, you get married, like, you know, like things start happening, and you know, they're not unpleasurable. I mean, they're not rock music, but I mean, you know, like. I enjoyed the work. I was really lucky. I got to do work that I generally enjoyed. You know, like not everything about it was enjoyable, but not everything about being in a rock band is enjoyable. And like that was fine for a while. It's just that this thing is always there. And I think now, hopefully, I've got just a much more sensible understanding of its importance and its place, and like a way to do it without having to like sprint, you know, like a madman and then collapse exhausted and heartbroken.
Do you think you're able to look at it more like as in all things in their season kind of thing now? Just perspective.
I mean, I kind of want to be playing guitar in all seasons. You know, like I kind of want to be. No, but I mean, like I'm not trying to be a wise guy. I mean, like I feel like, but I mean, at the same time, you know, like I was running a wine publication. I happen to know a lot about wine. I'm weird that way.
Yeah.
And it was very intense. And like I was able to play guitar a bit, but I couldn't really focus on songs. And I drove, poor Justin Nardi, the guy who runs Expert Work. I was driving him crazy because he'd be like, "I need this, this, and this," and I'd be like, "Okay, I am screwed for work for the next 2 weeks. Like I hear you, but I'm just telling you, like I can't.
I'm locked
like,
in.
I cannot do it."
Yeah.
And you know, like there are periods of life like that, you know, and like I mean, like to go back to Rose and Rick and Poster Children. I mean, they have children for God's sakes, you know.
I know,
like
right? Crazy.
And like and. Yeah, and like,
children,
you know, like poster children. And so, I mean, you know, you find other things, but like this thing keeps coming. And like, I feel like now I'm in a better place with all of it. I mean, we'll see. Who knows? I mean, you know, I've had not a relationship with it, but it's different now. It's deeper now. It's like I understand the bottomlessness of it, like that you were talking about. Like, I mean, a guitar is just like 6 pieces of wire, you know, 21, 22, or 24 frets. No, I mean, seriously, a certain amount of notes and a certain amount of electronics, but like, I mean, it really is endless. And I'm not sure I had that feeling before. And like, there's still so much I want to learn, and there's still so much like I want to do. And like, it's just crazy. So onward, man, you know?
And there's something also, you know, having to not the same level that you did with the bitch bang and stuff, but like when you go back to what you did years ago, and it's like, there's a weird sort of, why was I was doing that? Why was that the thing? Like, what was it? What? I mean, and that's right. I mean, that's something that it's you know that it's you. It sounds like you, but you're like, why? Why was that? Why
I mean, like I've done like a limited amount of stuff that I think I understand why I did all the things I did, even if like some were more successful aesthetically than others. I loved Coptic Lad as a band. Like, we didn't record ourselves smartly. I was playing over a loop through an amp, through the same amp, and like that was not a wise idea. But
yeah, it should have been a different one. But yeah,
it is what it is. Yeah, I would have done that differently. Why did I do that? I don't know.
Yeah, but that's part of that. But that's also part of the, you know, you have to have the acceptance of it. Well, it was exactly what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
And it brought you to this place.
That was very much like, this is that thing kind of thing. And yeah, that's cool. Like, I love that band. It was crazy.
Sure. And there is always, you know, again, one of the nice things about the availability of all music all the time, always now, is that it can be discovered at any time. You know, it can. Yeah,
you know, there is that, and like, yeah, I mean, there's
people could be TikTok dancing to Coptic Light songs. I don't know. Maybe
probably not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. Like I mean, the endlessness is its blessing and a curse. I mean, like, you know, people like us know how to find stuff, but you know, the vast majority, like the bigger stuff, has just gotten bigger in a lot of ways. You know.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And I get that.
But I mean, the middle has been hollowed out completely.
The middle
almost completely.
Yeah. On the other hand, like, you know, last weekend, for reasons that I cannot properly explain, like, I dove really deep into like a very specific kind of like jazz funk / fusion from the mid 70s. Like, and the signal to noise isn't great, but I found some great stuff. And like, I was just like, I could just go like from thing to thing, and like these crazy records I'd never heard of. And like, you know, that's cool. And it's not like how it's different now. I don't want to keep harkening back to how it was, because it'll just make me sound older. But like, you know, it's all there. Like, if you want to do that, you can do that. If you want to get into like Yugoslavian hardcore, it's all there. And
but
like,
people do that, and they have the ability to do that very quickly. Where it's like, hey, what's this? I've never heard of it, and then bop 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 bop. Okay, I've consumed that entire discography, and now I've listened to every band that they ever played with,
and I've got the playlist.
And it was like, oh my god, like, but I mean, I would do the same thing, but I would do over the course of years.
Well, exactly, and by the way, and then on Tuesday I'm gonna get into like Dutch hard rock. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
More than a Rostabilly skank now. Okay.
Whatever.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, good on you. But they're experiencing, you know, things more quickly, and there is the lack of the tactile, I think, also does create a different experience.
It does. Yeah.
But then also there is the valuation of the physical item, the physical artifact. I mean, the merch table. It's the only reason I can do what I do is like, you know, traveling Etsy store, right? That's what I say.
But I mean, if it works, it works. I mean,
yeah.
Like, look, I mean, like, this is totally off topic, but like, I was in the media business, and like, media is very hard. And like, the joke is to succeed in the media business, like, the media has to be a front business for something that's actually a good business, you know, like,
because at the core of it is not.
And so like, you know, like, there's no money in the actual playing of the music, but like the merch stand, like, that keeps us going. Great. You know, like, whatever it takes.
Well, and you know, there's always you have someone that is engaged with music, and they put like a song in a movie or something, or a TV show, and like you get, you know, maybe you get to be Kate Bush, and like suddenly you're getting royalties again because of Stranger Things. You know, great. I've never been mad about that.
Not super worried about Kate Bush, but yeah, I mean I mean, she's awesome. She deserves it. Yeah, no, exactly. And oh god, I mean, it's just so I just get so frustrated with people who like don't look past like the front pane of Spotify, because I mean, and you are one of the people that know, like, there's a lot of stuff I love that's not on Spotify. You know, I recorded a radio show for NTS, which is it'll probably happen before this comes out. And there's I don't want to give it away because I want to be a surprise, but there's a very specific song I wanted to play by this very specific band. Like, it wasn't on Spotify, so I had to, like, you know, dredge it off of YouTube and record it. I mean, you know, there's just, but I mean. Yeah, like, I mean, you and I both know that 15 years ago, like, what are you doing Friday night? What am I doing? I kind of want to stay at home with a six-pack and just like listen to weird shit on YouTube.
Just listen, just listen to music.
It's been a long week, like, you know.
Just
like
having a good time. Yeah.
You're with me.
It up a little.
Come over. You know, like, we'll trade songs. Exactly.
No, and that's something that I'm sure that does happen, but it's going to be on a different level. It's going to be engaged with differently, and that's. You know, I have people get like rowdy about it or get angry about it. It's like, look, that's the way it is. I mean, like, you know, we sit there, you poop your pants about it all you want. I mean, like, it doesn't change the fact that, like, that's what it is. And the valuation, it isn't devalued. It's just the valuation has changed. And
significantly, yeah. Yeah.
And there's something that's sad and demoralizing about that. It does feel like screaming outside the airlock often. But, I mean, there's the ability that never was before to reach people on a much larger level, and people that care, people that really honestly care about turning people on to new music are more important than ever, and are trusted in such a way because you have to have filters. You can't just have the fire hose 24/7, 365, or you're just going to die of pneumonia from all the water.
No, exactly. And I mean, I don't have anything to add to that because like it's pretty wise. I mean, like this is the way things are. Like, how do you make it work for you? How do you make it work for the stuff you care about? Like, how do you signal amplify even slightly? The people that you think are important. And that too will change. I mean, it does keep changing.
Sure. And it also depends, and there's certain things that they're rewarded and punished. If Jon Fine says like this band is great, a bunch of people are like, wow, I'm going to check that out. But if you did that every day, then people would be like, oh, whatever, Fine's just on some fusion band I never heard of.
And it is a fusion band.
And it sucks because it's like, well, why is it important if it happens in a way that the algorithm likes, and isn't important if it doesn't? And we will never find the answer to those questions, and until we choose to not live an algorithmic nightmare, it's something that
exactly.
Madness.
I mean, Pavement's biggest hit is a song that they didn't even really think about, that like no one had paid any attention to, because like one day the algorithm coughed. But I mean, there's stories about that. Like there's like Wilco and file sharing. Like there's all different kinds of discovery. There's I mean, we used to trade tapes for. I mean, Metallica was a tape trader band.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Home tapings killing the record industry. We left this side blank so you can help. Classic.
Yeah, exactly. And like metal was an underground phenomenon. There was a cassette phenomenon, and it got. I mean, that was the thing. It was huge.
John, let's take it back to your record here. You're a thoughtful guy. I know that there's a lot that went into these songs. Why don't we kind of go through each of the songs on the record, and you can kind of tell me a little more if you haven't already, or
sure.
You can we can revisit. It's okay. People tune out, disassociate when they're listening to the show. I don't know what they're doing.
I'm disassociating right now.
I couldn't imagine something. I as an aside, my friend and ex-bandmate told me he was like getting he was getting dental work. He was getting his tooth drilled, and he like put on a podcast right. He's like, "Oh, you want to listen to music?" He goes, "Oh no, I'll listen to this podcast." And like he was like, "Yeah." 30 seconds after I put it on, I was like, "I've made a terrible mistake." It's a much better story when he tells us he's quite the rock on tour. But I was like, "Yeah, dude." I crank out a couple of these every week, but I would never in a million years put on a podcast.
Yeah, but when my teeth are being drilled, yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. Are you kidding me? Like that was, but again, base for a great story.
It's a good story.
So we contain multitudes. It's not like drilling teeth at all. So we have the title track, Minako. So that's also that is the title track. That's the name of the record.
Yes.
Was that like the first one? This is the one that's the loopy one.
This is actually built around a loop. This song started. We've been futzing around with that loop. It's a backwards loop with like phase pedal phaser on it. We've been fucking around with that since like 2019. It was that was one of the more, if I remember this correctly, fully baked songs. Not in that way. Like more put together songs. And the extended ending was kind of in studio improvisation. We never quite knew how to end it. And it just made sense to do like a bunch of like really crazy feedback tracks in a very large, open, echoing room, which obviously is an incredibly fun thing to do at absolutely, jet airliner volume.
Like My Buddy Valentine volume.
Yeah, like just super satisfying. Like all these weird, like you can hear the microphones like kind of freaking out. You can hear the strings reacting to the feedback in really weird ways. You do mild detuning and you get these very, I mean, obviously Sun has created an entire band around this idea. So like it's not entirely novel, but a super fun experience.
Yeah, and it seems like the kind of song that if you really get into, like, we just can do a whole practice. We're just doing that song.
Oh,
like,
that has happened. That is there's some very long, like very very long versions of that.
Yeah, where it's like, wow, like how long have we been doing this? I don't know. What is time?
I don't know, but I do have to pee. So you know,
Yeah,
I'm getting kinda
exactly.
hungry.
Like I need a bio break. Yeah.
Yeah, bio break time.
So all right, so that's the title track. That's Minako. So can we just not to next one? Here, I'll
Yes.
highlight so we know where we're at.
Sure. So this is like a little bit of time signature hopping in this. Main riff is in 7, goes to 6. The acoustic coda, which I'm very fond of, came very, very late in the process, like well into the recording process. And I just had an idea, and Abe Seaforth, our amazing recording guy. Abe, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I feel like I always fuck it up. He was like, yeah, go for it. It got a beautiful acoustic guitar sound. There's a lot of layering on this one.
Yeah, it's very lush.
I quite, I don't know. I mean, I like them all. I like this one quite a bit. For reasons that may or may not make sense, it was the first single. Maybe that wasn't the best idea, but it felt to me that if we needed to go with one song that's kind of like, this is what this band is, it felt like that. Also, I was told that like Minako is far too long to be the single, so I was prevented from doing that.
Yeah.
Record company guys like, you know, we need a couple singles. Minako can't be one of them.
Yeah, Minako's not going to be one of them. Just so we're clear.
All right, fine. The deep cut.
What is it? That's a beautiful child, right?
Yes, it's
Something
Simon
along
came
those
up with it, but it's also there's a Japanese city pop vocalist named, I'm gonna fuck this up, I believe Minako Yoshida. People, please don't hate on me if I'm getting her name wrong. But Simon was listening to her stuff, and the name kind of struck him. It is typically a name given to a baby girl in Japan that roughly translates as beautiful child.
Nice.
Yeah. So D9.
D9 is the next one. Yep.
Yeah. Some song titles, like, you know, in bands, you know, all song titles start as weird, like shorthand references.
C sharp. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they become, they turn to song titles. We never could come up with a song title for this. I feel bad about that. There's a lot of electric 12 string on this one. It's a different tuning. It lends itself to that kind of chiming thing. I've been told this is like one of the more pop songs on the record, which makes sense. It's really, this one is really driven by Simon. Like the bass is really the lead instrument on this, and like it's the main melody line in the verses and the choruses, and it ends with like this kind of like bass solo that he did pretty much off the top of his head in the studio, which astounded me, like absolutely astounded me. So yeah, he just nailed it. Yeah,
and it's interesting that he can be, because he is a very active player, but not in a way that's
dickish.
I was going to say overpowering, but
he's a really aside from being very technically skilled, he's very intuitive, and like he kind of understands what the song is before we all do. It's something. Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, and again, it was something where him being the one player I didn't know anything about, I was like, "Oh, this guy."
He's a total badass. Like, yeah,
this dude's going for it. Okay,
yeah, because he can. Yeah,
very nice. We are all fucked.
Some song starters with a weird in-joke title, and you decide they kind of work. You know, this is sort of you know, two disparate parts that, you know, we think work pretty well together. Simon came up with the back half of the song. The first half is this kind of frantic thing in 5 that we've been playing with, I think, since 2019, maybe even a little before then. And when Simon just started playing this bass part in the practice space one day, and we're like, "Whoa! Like let's do that. Let's explore that." And it's kind of minimal in a lot of ways, and I like that. I like the restraint of it. I was actually pushing for there's quiet guitar and then loud chording at the end, and I was kind of arguing for the loud chording to be like really pushed down in the background, and I lost that fight, which I think was reasonable. But I don't really do a whole lot on that song, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there is kind of a minimalism, honestly, like without saying anything like Turing Machine, that kind of reminded me of Turing Machine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I would say very, very close friends of mine, and I like that band a whole lot. Yeah.
Well, and that's one of the things that their aesthetic I always appreciate so much is like, you know, it's like, oh no, this is just like,
we're just going to do this.
It's going to krautrock for a bit.
Yeah, we're just going to lock in. Yeah,
yeah,
and more so than any of my other bands, like this band, like has the it's part of the DNA to be able to lock in and just go. And You know, like usually what I'm looking for with the riffs is that like, is this something that we can happily play for half an hour, even if we're not going to do that? And then that's a pretty good sign.
Yeah, absolutely.
You might think I'm totally insane. That's the process here.
Bathroom drugs. Tell me about that.
Bathroom drugs. Love the title. And like this was this is another song like that in various forms we've been playing with since 2019. It sounds like a real long time ago since 2019, but realistically it's a couple of years because like we didn't play for 2 or 3 years there. It came together pretty quickly. The figuring out the verse was a bit woolly. We were let's just say that trying to play that where the main rhythm part is looped is really troublesome. And the ending part, that kind of like chimey single note guitar thing, like almost like a march, like that happened in the practice space very quickly. And I love the song because it has an actual drum break. And in the studio
too,
well, it's Orestes, so it's of course, but also like Orestes wanted to do some percussion on some extra percussion instruments, which you can hear on some of the songs. But for Bathroom Drugs, she's like, we're going to do hand claps, and I was like, okay, sure, let's do it. Yeah. So yeah, there's hand claps,
which can be totally cornball in the wrong, if you'll excuse the metaphor, hands. But I think they work here. It works here very well.
We hope it does. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jatinho.
Yes.
This is a Brazilian term. Orestes is fluent in 7 languages, including Portuguese. And
that guy.
Yeah, seriously. And I'm gonna describe it wrong, so you should look it up yourself. It's like one of those things that means a specific thing in a language that's it doesn't really fit into one word in English.
Right. Yeah.
Again, like a riff this is the best example of like a riff that we just played over and over again with like we can make this into something like it doesn't have to do a lot of stuff. And we ended up playing it longer than I thought, but I think it worked out okay. This is just Simon, like, slow simmer, and like Orestes just building. Like it's a very kind of quiet song. I'm quite fond of it. There's many more tracks of guitar in it than is easy to realize. Like there's like Fender guitar tracks. Like I normally play Les Pauls. There's Fenders on this.
It's a totally different sound.
Yeah, but like like that sort of seasoning, and then like there's a fair amount of acoustic in there, which is pretty easy to note. I don't know. Like I can't say what's atypical. I think like I like that all the songs are somewhat distinct, but yeah, this is pretty distinct and different from other stuff I played before for sure.
Well, and there's some good, without being like, did you know I'm doing tone stacking? There's some good, different sounds with it. Like, yes, we did know that. Thank you for bringing it up.
Sorry.
I once saw a band that was like, as you may have noticed, we played songs in various time signatures, and that one was like, please don't announce a time signature between songs.
No,
really,
no,
really,
you do not do that.
Oh
no, you
God,
did.
like,
also, by the way, you never say this is the last song. Never do that. Like, do not do that.
Oh, great!
Surprise people. Yeah, yeah. We've got a few more for you. No, just
exactly. Especially if you want the band after you to leave immediately, so then go, oh shit, we gotta get ready. Then definitely announce it's your last song.
Yeah, totally. And I guess that brings us to Atkins.
Right.
So Atkins changed. Also, another like weird phrase that just stuck with the goddamn song. There was another title that came to me, but then I realized it's like a lyric from a Squeeze song, and I just really didn't want to fuck with that. So we kept it as Atkins. This changed the most in the studio. Like the ending got very orchestrated, and I got kind of super obsessed with it. But I love the way it turned out. I have a soft spot for songs that have endings where the ending is longer than the actual song.
Yeah.
And this is that. There's another song that we have in like sort of a proto-recorded form where like the ending is 8 minutes long and the rest of the song is 3 minutes long. And like I kind of like that vibe. I'm really psyched on how this one came out. I mean, I love all these songs. There are things of Atkins. Like I just went crazy. There's like synth on it, which I've never played before on a record. There's piano. Couple of tracks of piano and like acoustic guitar, but it seemed to make sense. All of this seems to make sense. I hope it makes sense,
Yeah, I mean, it all seems like it's just helping articulate that overall vision, right? To get from
I guess I don't
point
know.
A to point B.
I mean, you just get obsessed, and like that. This is where it takes you, and hopefully it makes sense at the end. Yeah, and like an extraordinary amount of guitar effects on the on like the sort of lead guitar.
Yeah.
Voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, don't make me get into pedals, dude. It'll get really ugly. Like no one's gonna care.
There are a small amount of the audience that does, and
I'm sure
everyone else loves,
and they care very deeply.
Oh, they absolutely, yes. As much as the people that don't like telling me that they don't care about that, I'm like,
you can DM me at the band Instagram. I'm happy to, to do it. I'm happy to do whatever. Yeah.
Go follow We Contain Multitudes band and ask John about his pedals. Tell me about the band name. Is that the Walt Whitman thing, or where? Is that?
I mean, yeah, but it was mostly, I don't know. It's sort of epistic, but like you're trying to come up with a name, which is a huge pain in the ass. Man. And there were a couple of contenders, but this like made sense. It like certain things you think are good, and there's a name that I think is going to become that is a song title for a song that we've got in like a half finished state of completion that I thought could be a band name, but it doesn't. It's a better song title, and this like it's got a good rhythm to it. It sounds good, and it's also just sort of a joke because it's like Orestes is. Of Greek, Mexican, Turkish, Native American descent. Simon is Japanese on his dad's side and Anglo on his mom's side. I'm Jewish, so like we contain multitudes. But we're joking when we say that, okay? Like it's just a bunch of ethnicities and the three bodies in the band, basically. But honestly, to the point, it sounds good and it doesn't appear to have been used before. Which is, it's challenging.
I mean, just finding a thing that like, you don't pull up like 1,000 other unrelated things every time you try to like look for it is, that's a win. That's about the most epic win you can get in this day and age. Yeah. It's like, we got a unique phrase. Wow. Great.
Let's move on this one fast. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. Get the domain now. Well, I guess that matters less than,
it matters less now than it did.
But
yeah.
No, it's cool, man. And so tell me about, so you told us about the back cover, but how did the front cover, which it has that vibe of like the classic,
Hypnosis, 70s, prog.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Yes. Did you see the Square in the Circle documentary? The one on the Hypnosis guys?
No, I didn't need to see that.
Super good.
I got to see that.
Recommend this to like almost anyone that comes on the show because it's just it's fascinating. It's so good.
I'm in. So I was talking with Adam Fuchs, who's like a very skilled animator. And I was like, all right, dude, there's like two directions we can go. And like, one is we go sort of like factory records, like minimal, like somewhat geometric, like lines and like kind of quiet type, maybe a textured cover. Or we go full on complete like 70s prog hard rock insanity. And I think it's pretty clear which,
right. Which
one we went on. Like, I was telling him like, it was talking about like the cover of the first Captain Beyond record, which is a record I adore. Or like almost any Magma record, like, and just the way that there was the unashamed just going for absolutely preposterous cover concepts that extended over like a gatefold and inside as well. For cost reasons, we didn't get into gatefolds because those are expensive. But expensive, but it like he sent it to me and I'm like, this is bonkers. I love it. But it also like I don't know if you thought about this, but it works really well in like the context of like Spotify or like in like little thumbnails. Like it pops. And like I promise you that not a would have thought on my part went into it. I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Like there's this crazy orb on this like weird desiccated planet that's reflecting both like what maybe a sun and like also all this cracked earth beneath it, and there's an infant on the back. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, take me there.
Sounds great. I mean, like there's a long history of audacious, look at Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Those went a little too absurd, but I just have a fondness for like the craziness of like the album cover from back in the time when you put the album on and you just stared at the album cover, for an hour.
What's the one? Oh God, it's like it's like a turtle, but it's a tank. I can't think of the album name. It's like the album is not
Holy
as good as the album
shit,
cover,
dude.
but it's incredible. Like you look at it, you're like,
you
wow.
gotta tell me what,
Yeah,
you gotta tell me what that is.
What I'm gonna do is I remember like right before you go to bed tonight. It's this.
Totally
And
fine. Yeah,
then I'll email it to
like
you, but-
DM me, text me. Yeah, like wow, that's amazing.
I'm gonna send it to you. You're gonna be like, holy crap, were they
Yeah.
smoking some pot? Okay.
Yeah, They were. And it's weird because the pot's much more powerful now. But
Sure,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, John, this has been great, man. Thanks so much for coming
Always
back
great.
on the show.
Oh, love it, man. So much fun, man.
I hope it won't be 10 years for the next time, but
It will not be.
yeah.
Let's not have it be 10 years.
great to have you back. Is there anything you can mention beyond the record being out? We contain multitudes.
The record's out. It's the limited edition orange copies are sold out. I'm sorry to say.
I saw that.
There are still some black vinyl copies available. It's on all the streamers. By the time this airs, on the We Contain Multitudes in my socials, I'll have sent out a link to the NTS radio show I'll be doing.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I don't want to give it away, but I'm super psyched. I went a little crazy with the playlist, and I'm
All right, well.
excited about it. I mean, like, to anyone who's paid any attention to this band, seriously, thank you very much. It's super meaningful. I know how our attention has just a gazillion demands, and both with real life stuff and with leisure stuff and with like bullshit phone stuff. And it's just super meaningful if you spend any amount of time with it. So thank you. And Conan, thank you for reaching out to me. And thank you for keeping the flame burning on all this stuff.
I mean,
all these years.
People
It's fucking important.
have asked about the show, and I was like, well, one of the not so secret elements of it is I only have people I'm interested in talking to.
Well, otherwise it would not be any fun for you. And it's got to be fun.
Otherwise it'd be a bummer.
Yeah.
Otherwise it would just be a job that doesn't pay very much.
Yes.
Which I already got plenty of those.
You got plenty of those.
I already play in a band.
Totally, yeah. This was awesome, Conan. Thanks so much, man.
Yeah, John, last thing. So before I let you
Yes.
go,
No, sure.
only question I ever ask. You can choose to interpret it however you like, but why do you do what you do?
It's there is a spectrum between I don't have any choice and it brings me great joy, and it's somewhere between those two poles. But it's you get to. I'm talking about music here. You get to a different place, and you it's like there's a magic that happens that you happen to be a part of. When the creative process is good, I'm not trying to say like, this is the greatest thing in the world or anything. But like there's a magic and a feeling, and it's also just, like we all need something to work on that. Oh my God, dude, I'm going deep. You need something that like gives your life shape and meaning, and like, whatever it is. And, the people that we know, Conan, that listen to this and that you and I know through this, like, we have a thing. We know what the thing is. It can torture us. It can like put strains on parts of our life. We have it. Most people don't. And like, that's really not nothing. Like, I know what to do with my time. I know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And like, there's a comfort to that, but it brings me great joy, and I guess purpose too. So, yeah. What's your answer? Wait, what's your answer for that?
Oh, you got to be a patron for that. No.
Oh, very well.
I think I did actually answer that on one of the anniversary shows. I can't remember, but
ladies and gentlemen, well, I'm not going to mess with the business model, brother.
Right, exactly. How dare you, sir? How
Not
dare
going to do
you?
it. Not going to do it. I respect the game.
John Fine, thank you so much, man. Appreciate having you back.
Take care, babe.
Don't be a stranger.
I won't. You neither.
There he goes, Mr. Jon Fine. Let's hear one of the songs off this badass record. We're going to do the least interestingly titled one. We're going to do D9. Here we go. All right. That's D9 off of Minako. That's the very awesome We Contain Multitudes record. You can get that their Bandcamp. You can also get it expertworkrecords.bandcamp.com. Yeah, the limited edition one's gone, but you can get the not so limited edition instead. I guess they're all limited edition, really, if you stop and think about it. All right. Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Jon Fine for coming back on the show. Great to have him back. Great to talk about the band. Of course, this show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. This show airs normally Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, streaming live on YouTube, podcasted later everywhere, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding, protonicversal.com for the archives, always free. But if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner, patreon.com/protonicreversal, $1 a month. We'll gladly achieve that goal. Helps keep the lights on in this joint, too, so it's deeply appreciated. Another thing that's deeply appreciated is everyone liking, subscribing to your platform of choice, sharing the episodes around. All that helps beat back the almighty algorithm, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. I do deeply appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mr. and Mrs. America, all the ships at sea.
Had 2 reschedules coming up, but here's what I'll say.
The sound of my voice.
They're both happening, they're both awesome, and they're both fantastic formative drummers, and that's what I will leave it at. So I'll have it be a surprise. I think I already mentioned Ray Washington was one of them, though. Who will actually be the longest
50,000 watts of power.
between episode, yes, so far. Stay tuned. We got a busy. It's a busy summer. There's not a lot going on rock band wise, so lots of Protonics happening, including the Protonic Rewind. So thanks so much.
Microphone turns sound.
And as always, stay safe out there.
Can you hear me now?
Check you later.
Out on Route 128, dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. But there is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? This is a test! If this had been a real emergency,